The word skateboard is synonymous with youth, radicalness, defiance, revelry, and above all, Tony Hawk. But skateboards are a testament of how a Californian DIY community impacted pop culture and has remained relevant for over 5 decades. I'm pretty sure that many people in this class, if not all, have tried to ride a skateboard at least once and failed. If not, then I don't know what you were doing in high school. But the most known type of skateboard is the old school skateboard. In fact, this is the standard model that many people own and tuck away at the corner of their room and never use. There's a reason why it's a standard model, coming down to it being easy to maneuver, lightweight, easily assembled and disassembled, and its parts offering durability and stability. But these advantages in a seemingly simple design are a product of a design process that took almost 30 years. Now, skateboards kinda came out of scooters, in the form of crate scooters. And what a crate scooter was a DIY toy that kids began to build around the 1900s through the 1950s, and they were usually made up of wooden boards, roller skate wheels, and empty craters. They weren't too great at maneuvering since, they look stiff. And it was only during the 1950s that kids would actually begin to take out the crater and use it as a board to ride on. These first DIY boards are what I consider proto skateboards, and they had a very, very simple design, consisting of a thick wooden board with roller skate wheels attached to each end. They were hard to maneuver, but that didn't stop the surfer community in California from using them. They would, quote unquote, surf on the sidewalk, and with that, the sidewalk surfboard was born. Except not, since that's not what we know them as of today. In 1959, the company Roller Derby introduced the first official skateboard. That is the name of the product, since they really wanted to cash into the popularity that this kind of toy was having amongst kids. That's it. Their toy didn't actually offer anything new to the design. The only thing worth noting is that it was the first mass-produced skateboard design, and for that, it's a significant part of its history, as it would attract a greater following to it. Going to the decade of the 60s is when we actually see the skateboard get shaped into the familiar image that we have of it in present day. Beginning in 1962 with Ball Surf releasing a surf-inspired design that had modified roller skate wheels. This design had better steering abilities, and it would also start the trend of modifying roller skate parts to fit skateboard needs. Following the next year, Makaha Skateboard began using clay wheels, since they had better traction than steel wheels. Only downside is that they wore down after 7 or 8 hours. 1965 is pointed by many people as being the pivotal point when skateboarding passed from being a toy to a sport, as that's when the first national skateboarding competition took place, and from being obscure to mainstream, as it began appearing in music and movies and magazines. Then, in 1966, sales suddenly dropped and popularity diminished, almost ending the sport. In fact, this is called the first crash of skateboarding. It seemed like it was doomed until 1969 when Larry Stevenson invents the kicktail, the curved end in a skateboard. And even though it's a small addition, it saved skateboarding from the crash and gave it an underground scene status. As the next decade started, the remaining aspects of a standard skateboard would be completed by fellow Californian skate shops, beginning with Frank Nasworthy in 1972, owner of Cadillac Wheels. He had encountered polyurethane wheels. Polyurethane. That took me a while. In the roller skate business as a failed product, but he thought the durabilities would be much better suited for skateboards. And even though initially conceived for roller skaters, polyurethane wheels were simply hard-foam wheels, which lasted longer and had a better grip to the floor when cruising while not lessening its ability to roll. So Nasworthy incorporated it into the skateboard design, and having better wheels actually produced a new problem. See, In order for the wheels to turn, they were held by bearings, which usually sit inside the wheel, but by this point in the 70s, old models had external bearings. The problem with bearings being found externally lies in that they easily collected dust and water and any other garbage that could damage its efficiency and cruising smoothness. So the wheels by Nasworthy were outlasting the durability of the bearings. That's when the skateboard shop, Road Rider, would come up with an answer as they produced the first internal bearings. Now being found internally, the parts that allow the wheel to turn smoothly were protected and lasted longer. Then, following 1975, Ronald Bennett of Bennett Skateboards invents the first trucks specifically designed for skateboards. I want to note that trucks is what's shown in the picture, not the trucks in the road. I remember making that first mistake when I first got into skateboarding. Anyway, these allowed for ultimate flexibility and durability amongst users. And up to this instance, as I had mentioned before, skateboarding had been using modified parts to fit its needs. So this was greatly needed to withstand the tremendous force that a skateboard has to bear. The finishing touch to having a standard functional skateboard comes in the form of grip tape. Though always having been present in some sense, early use of strips of sandpaper on skateboards was rare. During the later years of the 70s, grip tape appeared in more designs to increase foot grip to the board itself, and since then it has become standard with every skateboard model. But in order to show 1970s skateboarding in action and how all of these design elements played into a skater's experience, I want to show this following video filmed in 1978, showing skaters in their most natural state, chaos. Evidently, the skateboards in this video are unintentionally tested for their flexibility and resilience. They are able to withstand heavy landings and offer great mobility. The trucks offer a strong base to ride on, while also distributing the weight of the user evenly along the object so as not to break. They are in an optimum state of flexibility, all while the cruising ability is very smooth, and the rider is in complete control. The boards are equipped to be thrown around and expected to withstand it while retaining all of its capabilities. By this point in time, skateboards finally reached the standard, and all the previous parts mentioned helped to solidify it as a sports equipment in its best efficient form. Coincidentally, in 1978, the ollie is created, and it's thanks to the kicktail that the board is pushed upwards and over an obstacle, giving birth to street skateboarding, which attracted popular interest again into skateboarding and pulled it out of a somewhat underground status into the spotlight again. Its popularity has ever only increased, but it's essential to note that the components to what makes a skateboard were all contributed by skateboard aficionados, users, and skate shop owners in California. In the interest of the whole skateboarding community, they took a rustic design and added onto it to make it perform most effectively. Thank you, and my sources are in the description.